If you ever never visited Bangladesh and heard about its traditions, you would be shocked to know about the marriage practices that sometimes feel highly unethical, besides challenging sacred relations. It's possible you might have already heard about the bride's family offering dowry as a financial reward to the groom for accepting their daughter. However, there are practices that create unease and unsettling impact. What about a mother and her daughter marrying the same husband? Or what about a man taking all sisters in marriage at the same time? There are even marriage practices in Bangladesh where women of a tribe can kidnap a man and marry him, or a widow can be made to marry the brother of his deceased husband. But how does that work? Welcome to a new episode of Uncovering Untold Stories, a channel where we talk about the secret and hidden historical stories, events, and incidents of the past that find their roots in either religious or history books. It's a place where you will hear the most unorthodox and hard-to-believe stories that have been forgotten, but are part of history, shaping our lives to this day. In this episode, we will tell you about the shocking and disturbing marriage practices in Bangladesh you might have never heard about. Let's get started. Number 1. Mother and daughter marrying. Same husband. In some parts of Bangladesh, particularly within the Mandi or Garo tribe, the disturbing marriage tradition allows a mother and daughter to share the same husband. This practice stems from the tribe's matrilineal system, where property and wealth are passed down through the female line. The arrangement is designed to protect family assets and maintain lineage, especially if a woman becomes a widow. In such cases, a man may marry the widowed daughter or mother, becoming the husband of them and preserving wealth across generations. In these relationships, the husband moves into the family home, and the mother and daughter share marital responsibilities such as child rearing and household duties. This living arrangement is often less about romantic love and more about ensuring the family's economic stability. Number 2. Women kidnapping grooms. In the Garo tribe of Bangladesh, women hold significant power in marriage and inheritance due to their matrilineal system, where property is passed through the female line. This structure offers Garo women the right to propose marriage, a custom that ensures family wealth remains within the maternal line. If a man rejects a marriage proposal, the family might resort to a practice known as man capturing or man kidnapping. Once the man is brought into the marriage, negotiations typically take place between the families to formalize the arrangement, covering details like property and living arrangements. The husband usually moves into the woman's family home, further reinforcing the matrilineal custom. In this marriage system, the man's role is often subordinate to that of the woman, as family assets are prioritized within the female line. The man lives as something to be used by her wife for pleasure only, having little rights. Number 3. Sororate and levirate marriages. In a sorority marriage, when a wife dies, the husband marries her sister. This practice helps maintain the familial bond between the two families and ensures that the children and property stay within the same extended family. The deceased wife's sister often serves as a logical replacement because of her pre-existing relationship with the family. However, some might see this marriage practice with raised eyebrows. Marrying the sister of your wife might sound unsettling. However, for the family's preservation, it's done in Bangladesh. Sororate marriages are particularly common in agrarian communities, where the stability of the family unit is vital for survival. By bringing the sister into the marriage, the family ensures continuity of responsibilities and efforts, maintaining social and economic stability. In some cases, sororate marriages are arranged not only after the wife's death, but also if the wife cannot bear children. The sister is introduced into the marriage to ensure the production of heirs, which is crucial for the inheritance of family property. However, levirate marriage involves a widow marrying her deceased husband's brother. This tradition is similarly designed to protect family property and ensure that the widow and her children remain secure within the extended family. By marrying the brother of her late husband, the widow remains connected to her paternal relatives, and the family's property stays within the same lineage. This arrangement provides social and financial security for the widow and her children, ensuring that they are not left vulnerable. In societies where the male head of the family controls property and finances, levirate marriage helps prevent the family from falling into chaos after the husband's death. It reinforces family solidarity and helps maintain economic stability, making it less likely that the widow will lose her home or land. Number 4. Marriage by capturing women. In the Chittagong Hill Tracts of Bangladesh, especially among the Chakma and Marma tribes, there exists a tradition known as marriage by capture. Throughout history, various societies have practiced forms of marriage by capture, often as a means of forming alliances or ensuring continuity within the tribe. In the case of the Chakma and Marma tribes, this practice is not a chaotic kidnapping, but a structured event that was often ritualized and approved by the community. The process was primarily a way to maintain tribal integrity by ensuring that marital unions remained within the community and tribal alliances were preserved. Among the Chakma and Marma, where tribal identity and family ties were tightly knitted into societal roles, marriage by capture was more about ensuring social cohesion than personal affection or romantic love. Family alliances were critical, especially when it came to land ownership, as agriculture played a central role in their livelihoods. This practice allowed men to secure wives within the tribe, while ensuring that land and family responsibilities remained within the community. In practice, marriage by capture involves the symbolic or physical act of a man capturing a woman with the approval of the tribe. This would typically take place during community events or festivals, symbolizing the man's readiness for marriage. The capture was often ritualistic, meaning the woman's family was usually aware of the plan, and the act was more about formalizing the marriage than forcing a woman into submission. Once the woman was captured, negotiations between the families followed. These discussions typically revolved around property, dowries, and the roles each family would play moving forward. The man would then take the woman to his home, cementing their union within the tribal framework. Number 5. Cross-cousin marriage. Cross-cousin marriage is another traditional practice found in some Bangladeshi communities, particularly in rural and tribal regions. This custom involves a marriage between a man and his mother's brother's daughter, or a woman and her father's sister's son. Interestingly, cross-cousin marriage is deeply connected to the preservation of family wealth, property, and social ties within extended families. The practice helps keep assets within the family, ensuring that property is not dispersed to outsiders. Not only that, but in most cases, communities don't want to marry their daughters to strangers. Therefore, to ensure the community grows within itself, cousin marriage is encouraged. In many parts of rural Bangladesh, families view cross-cousin marriages as a means of strengthening familial bonds. By keeping marriage within the family, they prevent the division of property and ensure that land and other resources are passed down securely to future generations. These marriages are often arranged by the families, emphasizing the importance of retaining familial wealth. The idea of family unity is central to this practice. Cross-cousin marriages provide a sense of security to both families, as the individuals are already familiar with each other. The bride and groom, being cousins, often share a close relationship, and their families are likely to have long-standing ties that reduce the possibility of disputes over inheritance or family responsibilities. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos about little heard and untold real historical stories. Let's continue now. Number 6. Polygamy. In some rural parts of Bangladesh, particularly among certain indigenous tribes, polygamy is a cultural practice that has been accepted historically. Bangladesh, being a predominantly Muslim-majority country, follows Islamic traditions, where polygamy is allowed under specific conditions, such as ensuring equal treatment of all wives. However, in modern times, especially in urban areas and within the educated population, polygamy is rare and people lean more toward monogamous marriages. Among indigenous and tribal groups, the dynamics of polygamy are shaped by traditional customs, with a focus on maintaining family alliances and property. In these tribal societies where family and community ties are deeply rooted, polygamous marriages often serve the purpose of strengthening social bonds. The more wives a man has, the more interconnected families become, which in turn helps secure land, property, and wealth within the same tribe or family group. Interestingly, in these societies, women don't challenge this marriage practice. Rather, they are said to cooperate on a higher level, living with other wives of their husbands in the same house. They take care of the household and children, no matter which wife they are from. Number 7. Ghost marriages. In the indigenous Emro tribe from the Chittagong Hill Tracts, there exists a unique and symbolic ritual known as ghost marriages, or Pret Biba. This practice shows the spiritual and ancestral beliefs that dominate the cultural framework of these tribal communities. In a ghost marriage, a deceased man may be symbolically married to either a deceased woman or, in some instances, to a living woman. The primary belief behind this practice is to ensure that the man is not lonely in the afterlife and that his spirit can find peace. Ghost marriages are deeply rooted in the Emero tribe's belief system, where ancestors and spirits play a significant role in the lives of the living. The practice of ensuring that even the deceased has a companion highlights the value placed on family ties, even beyond death. It is believed that if a man dies before he marries, his soul might wander aimlessly, causing unrest for the family and the community. By performing this marriage, the family ensures that the deceased man's spirit is settled and has companionship in the afterlife. If the marriage involves a living woman, it is largely symbolic, and she is not expected to fulfill the traditional roles of a wife. The ritualistic elements of the ceremony are more focused on the spiritual union between the man and his spirit bride. However, the woman cannot marry again because she is in marriage with the deceased person. Number 8. Marriage as debt repayment. In some impoverished rural regions of Bangladesh, particularly in the poorest communities, there exists a disturbing practice where daughters are married off as a form of debt repayment. This practice, known as marriage as debt repayment, commodifies women, treating them as a means to settle financial disputes or unpaid loans. However, the family of the girl feels somehow a twisted form of satisfaction that at least their daughter won't live in poverty. Because she has been sold to a family with a higher social status, she would have a happy life. Yet the emotional trauma of leaving the family is often ignored. This happens when a family cannot repay debts, and they may sell their daughters into marriage. In many cases, these marriages involve young girls, often minors, who have little to no say in their futures. They are forced into marriages with older men or with families that see them as nothing more than a transactional commodity. These marriages are often characterized by exploitation, domestic violence, and various forms of abuse. For the girl, the marriage becomes less about partnership and more about serving as a mechanism to relieve her family's financial burden. Number 9. Exchange marriage. Another troubling practice in certain rural and tribal communities of Bangladesh is exchange marriage, locally known as Adal Bodal. This practice involves two families exchanging brides between households to solidify family alliances or reduce the financial burden of dowries. In some cases, this is done to ensure the continuation of both marriages and balance leverages. If one girl faces difficulty in her husband's home, the sister of the husband will also be made to face difficulty in balancing or to give a warning. In a typical exchange marriage, a brother from one family marries a sister from another family, and vice versa. This arrangement is seen as a way to strengthen ties between families or avoid the hefty dowry payments typically required in traditional marriages. While the exchange of brides may seem practical in terms of financial and social alliances, it often disregards the individual desires and autonomy of the people involved. Most of the time, the individuals being married have little say in the matter, leading to marriages where emotional connection, compatibility, and personal preferences are not considered. These forced unions can create marriages that are emotionally strained from the outset, as the primary purpose of the union is to fulfill familial obligations rather than fostering love or mutual respect. The consequences of these arrangements are frequently damaging, as emotional and psychological strain is placed on both the brides and grooms. Number 10. Marriage to settle blood feuds. To create peace between two families who have been fighting for generations, marriage is used as a tool. In some rural areas of Bangladesh, marriage is occasionally used as a means to resolve long-standing family disputes or blood feuds, a practice rooted in the preservation of peace between conflicting families. In these situations, women are often married off as a peace offering, without much consideration for their consent or well-being. The woman's marriage is treated as a tool to appease both sides of the feud, symbolizing reconciliation and sealing an agreement to end hostilities. This practice is usually enforced by male elders in the family or community leaders, who see marriage as a strategic move to heal old wounds and prevent future violence. Unfortunately, the woman involved in such an arrangement is often seen merely as a pawn, rather than a person with her own desires and autonomy. She is expected to enter the marriage regardless of whether she knows or has any connection with the man she is marrying. The dynamics of these marriages are deeply imbalanced, with power primarily resting in the hands of the families or male authority figures. The bride, thrust into a new family and social structure, may face significant emotional and physical challenges. These marriages frequently lack affection, as they are not based on mutual attraction or consent, but rather on an agreement made to benefit the broader family or community. Although this practice is rooted in the desire for harmony, it ultimately comes at the expense of the woman's rights and well-being. These marriages reinforce harmful gender roles that prioritize family honor and male-dominated decision-making over the individual rights and autonomy of women. While efforts to combat such practices are growing, particularly with the spread of education and legal reform, it remains a disturbing reality in certain rural communities. Did you know about these marriage practices in Bangladesh that make the marriage institution quite different from what we think? Isn't it true that marrying a cousin or taking the daughter of someone who owes you money in marriage changes how we think about marriage? In the comment section right below, share your thoughts on what more bizarre marriage practices you know about. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring videos on stories that might sound controversial, mysterious, and shocking, but are real and have roots in religious and history books. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.